And last regular season match of this year. What are you guys hoping to get out of this game in Kansas City?
Oh, we're saying the same thing they're saying. Let's end this season on a high note. And that means, of course, effort. It's game plan. It's sticking true to who we are. And then lastly, it's about winning, as it always is in professional sports. So, we'll try to accomplish all those. And that message is very clear to the crew. And I think we've had a good last few days. Again, a bye week when you're out of the playoffs isn't that easy to train through. And it can be a little bit moody, but overall the guys did a good job. Staff did a good job. And, we're looking forward to, again, kind of end on a positive note and trying to check as many of those boxes as possible.
Yep. Thanks for that. We'll start with Dustin. Go ahead.
Hey, Ben, how are you? Sorry, as you're drinking. I
So,
want to ask you kind of a big picture. You guys were first in MLS last year in possession, almost 60%. You're down to about 50, kind of middle of the pack. Is that personnel, game model, just teams adapting?
well, it's not. This isn't how we designed it. We didn't change the game model too much, but individuals change game models, right? There's little tweaks to this, and then it ultimately becomes about that question of game model versus how do we win, right? And then so that becomes the dance. If you don't necessarily always have the perfect profiles for your game model. And that is where we were stuck in between, I think, a lot this year. And, after this game, and frankly before this game, we spent and will spend a lot of time on that and fixing a few things that we feel we learned from this year about our group. This was the, third year in a cycle. And, there was a lot of change, and it was always going to be tricky. And I got a bucket of excuses, and I got a bucket of reasons, things we could have maybe did better. And so we kind of sift through some of that in the now and also in the future and fix it. I'm very optimistic about next year in that the cap room that we have currently, the prospects that we think we can come in, and the ideas that we've identified that need to get better to push this team back into the postseason.
And I know I'm not asking you for your lineup tomorrow, but a number of guys who are probably playing for jobs here, elsewhere in the league, things like that, some young guys. How do you go into kind of balancing who gets minutes in a game that, doesn't mean anything for you guys in the big picture?
Well, playing for jobs, if you've waited this long to have a good performance and now things are going to change on the last day, that's a little bit of a fairy tale, I think. It's a tricky game to motivate in a lot of ways because, as you said, there's not a lot to play for. But that's, one way to look at it. The other way is we all have different motivations on why we show up and why we do this. And we all have families and jobs and, an inner drive to succeed and win. And in that way, I think it's actually a good game to identify, who has that, inner drive and that competitiveness when not a lot is on the line, to bring that out, because that's ultimately was what going to get us over the hump next year. So it's important. It's certainly a game we're going to identify, but nothing here is going to change the way we deal with the off season. But you can look worse, that's for sure, if you don't show up and you don't have the right competitiveness in there. And again, I don't see that being a problem. I didn't spend too much time on it, a few little speeches on that, but that hasn't been the case with this group this year. These guys have fought, and that's one thing that I take away from this group is that they did their best. They did their best. The coaches put in a lot of hard work this year to try to get to the postseason and put ourselves in a successful spot each week, and it didn't happen for a variety of reasons.
Just just last one from me. I know you had some guys linger. Brooklyn was at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Guys off on international duty. Other things. Just how are you guys looking personnel-wise going to Kansas City?
Fine. Yeah, we look healthy. Ironically, we're probably as healthy as we've been all year in the last game.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Herman, go ahead.
Hey, Ben, the only one I have for you following those questions is, during the bye week, did you reflect on any lessons that you learned that can help you going forward?
No. I do that every day, all day. I do that in the middle of the night. We do that in the office with our coaching staff, which I always argue. I always joke with them that it sure would be nice to have a yes man in here. So the amount of dialogue. This isn't about the bye week. In the same way, this isn't about playing well the last game. This is about identifying throughout the year, constantly updating and having conversations on what's going well, what we need to fix, how to challenge ourselves, and also, as we venture into this world of not being in the playoffs, then it becomes one eye here and the other eye on the future, and making sure we're fixing some of those things, identifying some prospects to take us to the next level. No, I got no one thing that, if that's what you're looking for, I did this wrong this year and that would have solved everything. No, I'm not going to give you that. I didn't figure that out in the bye week, and I don't think it's that simple.
All right, Erik, the Dynamo hit the road again, to wrap up the regular season with the decision day clash against Kansas City. What kind of match are you expecting against them?
It's going to be a tough one. It's been tough games all season, and for our kind of mentality standpoint, it's a very important kind of closure on this season. We want to go and have 3 points. That's the only mindset we have. We've had a bye week where we have trained really well, and now we have a week leading up to what will be the final game of the season. And especially when you know that you're going away for a long time, you want to end on a high note in some way, even though it hasn't been a season that something we want to remember. But at least the last kind of impression is very important to give ourselves and to give to the fans.
Yeah, and you mentioned ending on a high note. What's the specific mindset you and the team will be going into Kansas City?
I think the mindset is chest up. We know that we haven't performed this season at all, but there's no need to have this kind of mentality lingering. We're starting something maybe for the next season, and I know it's going to be a long time we are away from each other, but I think it's the most important for us that we go there and we put together a performance that can give us 3 points. I don't really care about how it's going to happen. The most important is that we win.